here I am 1 year from college and I tear my ACL. They're telling me I'm not going to be able to play college football, and I'm thinking, that sucks. Team Rehab comes along and says, hey, let's get to work. They don't rely on routine programs. It was all about me and my dream to play again. Now I'm visiting Ivy League schools, and oh yeah, I'll be playing. I could have given up. I'm glad I went to Team Rehab because they didn't. Team works.
Team Rehabilitation. Visit team-rehab.com.
To move forward with conviction, vision matters. We are Forvis, a forward-thinking professional services firm that uses our unmatched vision to prepare for what's ahead. Our commitment to forward vision is delivered on an expanded platform and driven by deep industry expertise, vast resources, and innovative advisory services. Forward vision, it's in our actions and our name.
I've worked for a lot of really large organizations where values were fancy words on a pretty poster. At SCA Health, that is the striking difference. We live and breathe those every day.
They are always talking about patient care, high quality care. I've never heard of a company talk so much about their patients.
It is a company that consistently looks to improve. All I want to do is more for a company that takes care of me like that.
My voice is getting heard. I make a difference where I work. What input I have, they're looking at and they're listening to.
If you want quality of life, if you want room for growth, and if you want to be in a place where you know that you're safe and you know that you're keeping your patients safe, I would recommend it.
Putting in the work at SCA means being recognized. The promotions are there. The education is there. The next steps are there. I'm proof that the resources, the encouragement, the mentorship is there.
I've been here 11 years. It is the SCA values that have kept me here.
It's one of the first companies I worked for that has invested in me.
I come to work every day and I know things are going to go well.
I mean, it's the best company I've ever worked for.
They allow me to be who I am. I couldn't ask for anything more.
My favorite part about working in the warehouse is just the opportunity to come down every day and feel the equipment that's getting packed up. Really see the equipment go from something that someone's dreamed about having at a youth program to something that they're actually going to be able to give to their kids. Good Sports works with equipment manufacturers to take in donations of excess equipment that they have. Everything ranging from soccer balls, footballs, basketballs, to workout equipment and training equipment. We then take that equipment and we are able to distribute it to youth programs and schools across the country. Equipment vendors are the lifeblood of what Good Sports does. Without their support every year, we wouldn't be able to do what we do.
They're providing us with the ability to be able to service organizations throughout the country. Through their generosity, a lot of kids benefit in the long run.
Our team has grown exponentially recently. It's because of all our great partnerships with our equipment vendors and with the community organizations.
The growth means that Good Sports is servicing more kids, more organizations. Our inventory continues to grow, and so does Good Sports.
Over the last several decades, we at Midwest Orthopedics at Rush have depended upon our donors to help fortify our investment in translational research. Translational research is our ability to identify a problem in the clinic, take it to the laboratory, and bring it back to you, the patient, and affect change and improve the quality and outcomes
Our
of your
ability
care.
to identify a lot of times we don't even see the benefits of our research come to the light of day in the clinical setting. With the use of donor funding, we've been able to accelerate a lot of that. And one example is with personalized medicine, where we're taking patients' blood, spinning it down, and taking different factors out of it to treat different conditions in ways that we really never had available to us in the past. And this is a way to really move things forward and offer different options to patients that didn't exist before.
Through the generosity of our donors over the years, we truly have had one of the greatest impacts of any department in the country and had this effect both nationally and internationally. So thank you. Good evening, sports fans. I'm pleased to welcome you to the Chicago Sports Summit, Episode 4. I'm Dr. Brian Cole, Managing Partner of Midwest Orthopedics at Rush, head team physician for the Chicago Bulls, co-team physician for the Chicago White Sox, and the Chicago Dogs. I'm also the director of the Chicago Sports Summit. Thank you for this opportunity to host you tonight. Now, following tonight's episode, we have 2 more Summit episodes presented over the next 2 Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. As always, each will feature an interesting conversation with a leader in sports, sports marketing, and sports business. All conversations are led by a Chicago media professional. Now, please check out chicagosportssummit.com for our dates and our fantastic lineup. Now, each year, the Chicago Sports Summit will benefit organizations near and dear to our hearts. Proceeds from this year's summit will benefit Good Sports, a national organization with a significant presence. It provides sports equipment and resources to the underserved Chicago students. This year's summit will also benefit orthopedic research at Rush, which we rely on to identify solutions to keep us pain-free and active. Donations are now being taken on our website. Now I'd like to take a moment to thank the presenting sponsors who have helped us by providing generous funding for the summit. They are Team Rehab and Leopardo.
Thank you, Dr. Cole. As a physical therapy company with locations in Illinois and Indiana, we are honored to care for your orthopedic patients. Together, we are getting people back to doing what they love. We are proud to be the presenting sponsor of the 2022 Chicago Sports Summit.
Leopardo Companies is proud to be a presenting sponsor of the summit for the 6th year. As a construction and development company, we enjoy working alongside Dr. Cole and his team building new locations for better patient care and access.
Thank you to you both. For a full list of our sponsors, please visit chicagosportssummit.com. Now I'd like to introduce you to one of my partners, Dr. Grant Garrigus. He will introduce our guests for tonight's episode.
Thank you, Brian. It's great to be here introducing a pair of old friends doing great things. Mickey Pruitt and Solomon Wilcots met as teammates while playing football at the University of Colorado. Both went on to enjoy careers in the NFL. And Mickey even brought home a Super Bowl ring while playing for the Dallas Cowboys. As a homegrown Chicagoan who once played for the Bears, Mickey is now impacting the lives of children as the Director of Athletics for Chicago Public Schools, one of the largest school systems in the country. Solomon is a longtime sports broadcaster and currently an NFL sports analyst and member of Russo Partners. Let's sit back and enjoy this conversation.
And Mickey, it's great to be back with you. We're here in your hometown of Chicago. And think about it. You and I, we should be transparent for our viewers here. We go back some 38 years since we first met, my sophomore year, your freshman year at the University of Colorado. It's been a while.
It's been a long time, and it doesn't seem like it.
I know.
But it's been 38 years that we met each other.
And of course, you've been busy over these 38 years. You're now the director of Chicago Public Schools. You were an All-American at the University of Colorado, a 2-time All-Conference player. You came back home to play for your Chicago Bears, won a Super Bowl with the Dallas Cowboys. When you think about all those accomplishments associated with your name, what comes to mind?
Really, it's just a wow factor. How did I do it? You know, and I'm like, I didn't think I'd play in the NFL. I wasn't thinking about the NFL when I was growing up. I always watched the Bears on TV, but it was like, is this me? You know, it was in a fantasy land, that, especially when I got to the University of Colorado, it was like, man, I could play with these guys. And that's where I kind of felt like I could play in the NFL.
I remember we were in school on campus in Boulder, Colorado. The 85 Bears are making their run, and all you did was run around campus and yelling and talking about the Bears. I remember you doing that.
Yes, right.
And then to be able to come back home and play for them, what did that mean to you?
It was awesome. I mean, just to come back home with my parents, my family here, to come out there telling them for the first time, unbelievable. But, you know, at the University of Colorado, 85, when the Bears was there, Super Bowl Shuffle, had their own song, I had to celebrate. And it was something that, you know, proud Chicagoan to see the Bears win their first championship.
Tell me about your journey, because I think what you're doing now is so significant. I think it proves that you can take a career in sports and still come back and serve your community. I think you're a proud example of that. Having attended school, Chicago Public Schools, tell us more about your journey and how did you get here, and how did the University of Colorado and all your years in sports play a role in what you're currently doing today?
Well, it's about dedication, and my parents taught me well, as far as whatever you want to do, you could do. And it was dedication from high school, elementary school, high school to college, University of Colorado, and then making the pros. It involved in everything that I wanted to do outside of football. I was always a part of the community once I came back, and especially when I went to the Bears, being in the community coming back here was just so easy because I grew up here. But the thing about it is this, is if you believe and you dream about something and you want to do something, and you could get it done.
What was maybe your experiences in sports, whether it's in high school, college, or even at the professional level, that you think best prepared you for the job that you do today as director of sports for Chicago Public Schools?
Well, nothing prepared me for the director of sports for the Chicago Public Schools. There's a lot of things, moving parts for the public schools, but you know what? Determination, pride, trying to do the best you can for the whole city of Chicago, with so many student athletes playing, so many students in the school, second largest school district, probably second largest district for as sports. You can't beat it, and you try to make that the best that you could do every day.
And that takes me back to you were undrafted coming out of the University of Colorado, despite the fact that you were an All-American. We were all really surprised that you weren't. And you could have signed with a number of different pro teams, but you wanted to come back here to Chicago to play for your hometown team. But people should know that undrafted free agents don't typically make the team. What part of the determination that you just described allowed you to beat out so many other guys and become part of a team that you grew up rooting for?
Well, you have to put that chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing that you're pissed off because you come back home. I came back home for the draft, and thinking that I was going to get drafted first, second, third round. Didn't get drafted at all.
Wow.
And it was like it was a effect where I'm like, man, what happened? So, you know, I took it for granted and put that chip on my shoulder and said, whatever team I go to, getting 25 calls after the draft, whatever team I go to, I'm going to make it, and I'm going to prove the other teams wrong that you should have took me.
End up becoming a player in the National Football League, 5 seasons in the NFL. Yeah. You end up winning a Super Bowl with the Dallas Cowboys. That had to be wonderful. And now you wear this title, Director of Sports for Chicago Public Schools. For the layperson, someone like myself, describe for us, what does that mean in your day-to-day responsibilities?
Means long days, a lot of work, but just to make everything as good as you can for the student athletes of Chicago Public Schools. I was a product of it, and I want the public schools to be served well as far as me being the director of sports. It's just not sports. I do driver's ed and stuff like that, over driver's ed and stuff like that for the students who have to take driver's ed behind the wheel. But the sports part is the biggest key, because we want to try to furnish as much sports as we can to all the student athletes, not just the super sports, basketball, football, soccer, but some sports like badminton. We just started girls flag football, who we partner with the Bears to implement girls flag football for the Chicago Public Schools.
That's wonderful. Describe for us your leadership style, because everyone knows you're a soft-spoken person. But when it's time to stand up and be heard, I know that voice of yours can grow to a much louder octave. So describe for us what that leadership style is like.
Well, my face changed. Okay. So, I mean, I'm always smiling and happy and want people to feel warm and friendly around me. But, you know, when things happen, I mean, sometimes your demeanor changes, not to an extent where it's overboard, but they could hear you. And the fact that if things are not getting done right, you have to be heard in a different way. But I don't want people to think that I'm so nice and soft-spoken and they could take advantage of me. That's not going to happen because I know that once it comes down to it, I could get in the grind of everything and make things happen.
You also can roll your sleeves up and get the work done yourself. Yes. And I know your dad worked at Chicago Public Schools, and help us to understand in what way did he play a role in your life and things that you do today, and even in that leadership style that you just talked about.
Yeah, he was the athletic director for the school that I went to, Paul Robeson High School, and he had so much respect from other people from other schools. It was tremendous, and I grew up in that. So that's the way I wanted to be, is being respected as a man and as a person that really, really understands that whatever you do, you want to do it the best, and you'll get respect from that.
Yeah, your experiences in Chicago Public Schools, I'm sure it plays a role in some of the things that you see happening, you want to solve some of those problems. Help us to understand some of the unique challenges of just bringing coaches together, trainers, and city leaders as well, in terms of trying to help student athletes. You have to really work together as a community. In what way do you go about doing that to help the student athletes?
Yeah, we have a big community, as you know, and with different races, ethnicities, and stuff like that. We have to bridge everything together. And the one thing that we do, we want to be transparent in what we're trying to do, what we want to do, and how we do it. So we want to collaborate with all our stakeholders, inside and out, and try to build our program to where it will fit everybody in the public schools. Students is first, and we have to listen to the students because their voices has to be heard because they are there. The coaches are there because we have to hear them because they're on the battlefield with the students.
That's right.
And then the principals, they bring everything together for the schools. So they have the bigger voice for us, so we could get these programs running and where it should be.
Resources are very important. Unfortunately, in sports, kids are going to get injured while competing in athletics. And what way do you go about working with the medical community to make sure that the kids are getting the best medical care for Chicago Public Schools and those athletes when they're injured while competing?
Well, it's tough with the Chicago Public Schools. We have so many schools.
Yeah.
I mean, we have, with charter schools, we have 125 high schools. And in elementary, we have about over 400, 500 elementary schools. And to bring that with the medical field on, it's tough. We kind of concentrate more on high school level because the collisions and the bumps and bruises is a little bit higher. Not saying that the elementary school don't have injuries like that, because they do, because they're young, they're growing. But the high school, we're trying to bridge that gap, whereas we want to be like any other district, have a trainer to each school, have a trainer in every game, have a trainer that supports the students when they get hurt at the school. So we're trying to bridge that gap right now. But it's tough because we have so many schools, and with the marketplace as far as with trainers, it's not there right now because of everything that's going on as far as trainers. They don't have enough trainers right now, but we're trying to bridge that gap to work with other entities.
I can imagine trying to keep kids on the field, playing and competing while we're going through a global pandemic. How are you guys able to keep everything going while fighting COVID at the same time, but still getting these games played and allowing the kids to still continue to compete?
It's tough. It was tough because it's with all the things that we had to do just to keep kids on the field, as far as the COVID, trying to test who's positive, who's not positive. We try to do the best that we can to test the kids as much as we could. Some kids didn't want to play anymore just because of the parents didn't want them to play. But we had to get these kids off the couch. They was on the couch too long. And we saw the effects because of, the years that we took a little standstill as far as not playing. Coming back, we didn't get the numbers that we wanted to. We thought we would get the kids to come back to play, but a lot of parents kept the kids out from not playing just because of they didn't want the kids bringing home COVID and stuff like that.
Yeah, and look, you and I, we grew up playing sports. Yeah. I still talk to people today and talk about why sports is so important. I think it does teach leadership. I think it does teach you how to fail and be able to bounce back after failure and still know that you can succeed. It teaches so many life lessons. What's the communication that you're constantly having with kids who are going through the public school system? You're trying to get them to compete. You're trying to convince their parents to allow them to participate. What are some of the things you're sharing with them?
Well, we want the students to really feel comfortable and understand that, hey, we have these programs for you. And it's for you just because we want you to play. Some students are students that just want to be around sports, be around athletes and stuff like that. So we want to have other things that they could do, like being a manager, promoting that, promoting being a trainer, promoting being an official, and everything like that. So we just want to promote, whereas we want to get the word out saying, hey, this is what we want you to do. Can you do it? And esports is coming up along the way and stuff like that. We're not there as far as in the sports office because we want our kids out participating.
Being active, right?
Being active and stuff like that. And that's the biggest thing for us. We don't want our kids to be active and not just sitting down and looking at video games and stuff like that. We want them to be active on the field so they could get some that, like the NFL have Play 60. We want them to get out and do exercise for 60 minutes a day.
Athletics also has a way of, you talked about how many schools you have, but it can bring communities together.
Yes.
I still think about Friday night lights. When the lights come on a Friday night at a football game, you can still bring communities together. And I think when teams perform really well, it can galvanize a community also. If you get a good winning streak going for a team, it has a way of bringing people out and bringing them together. Talk to me about how you go about vetting coaches. And helping to make sure that they meet the accreditation. You have so many jobs to fill across the landscape of your public school system.
It's tough, with coaches because a lot of people don't want to coach anymore. And we have that problem with just getting coaches on the field and stuff like that. We have a lot of teachers that stop coaching.
Okay.
And we have a lot of people that's non-board personnel that come in and coach. So we trying to bridge the gap. We want our teachers to teach because they know how to teach in the classroom, to teach the student athletes as being an athlete too. But we have to bridge the gap some kind of way is recruiting coaches in our programs.
Coaches are teachers too, right?
Yes.
You and I played for a coach. I know what Coach Bill McCartney, the impression he made on me during the time I spent that you and I were there at the same time playing for him. I'm going to tell my story. Then I want to hear from you what Coach Mack, what were some of the things that sort of he ingrained in you that allowed you to become the person that you are today. I'm not wearing a watch right now because I'm never late. And the reason why I'm never late, you remember when Coach Mackey would call us into a meeting, he would say, set your watches 5 minutes ahead of time, right? And he said, so if the meeting's at 7 o'clock, he wanted you to set your watch at 6:55.
Yes.
And you had to be there early, at least by 5 minutes. And I remember him saying, you're never on time. You're either early or you're late. And he would yell at us, as you probably can remember. But that's something that stayed with me over time. And it's something that I would go on to teach my kids. If I was ever coaching my kids' a Little League baseball team, it's something that we constantly talked about. And I carry it with me even to this day in business where I'm not going to be late. I'm going to get there early just to make sure that I'm on time. What are some of the things that you learned from some of the great coaches that you played for that you still carry with you today?
That's one of the biggest things is being on time. And being on time means not being on time, it's being early.
That's right.
And that's what I do. I try to be in meetings if I can, be on time before the time we're supposed to start. But little things of coaching, they are teachers.
That's right.
And they teach you in different aspects of life and the world that you grow up in. Coach Mack was, he kind of was in a way whereas he tried to get you ready in a different way, different people. He knew how to touch buttons with different people, and that's how a teacher's supposed to do. You have to know your personnel, and if you know your personnel, you could push those buttons where they're on time, and if they're late, don't talk to them or whatever. But he knew how to push those buttons where you're going to gain from what he's been talking about.
The other thing I learned from some of the great coaches, Coach Dick LeBeau, who coached me in the secondary, it's just like good teachers. You want to teach in the affirmative, right? Never teach with negative comments. Never talk about what not to do, but always give them the words or the tools of what to do or how to do it. It usually inspires the most out of your students. So that's something I also learned from coaching. I want to ask you about young ladies and girls who participate in sports. And in what ways have Chicago Public Schools improved maybe access or participation levels for young ladies to participate in athletics?
Well, the one thing I mentioned before is girls flag football.
Yeah.
We realized that you could get scholarships in football for girls. So we implemented this in the city of Chicago, the first in Illinois to do girls flag football. We had 21 schools last year. Now we have 51.
Yeah.
So a lot of those girls are playing flag football because it's theirs.
Wow.
And I know we want to take away from tackle football, but this is theirs.
Yes.
And stuff like that.
They
Wrestling,
can own it.
yes, they can own it right now. Wrestling is another thing.
Yeah.
We separating girls wrestling from boys wrestling. So it's something that they can own.
Yes.
It's theirs, and they're gonna compete against each other. And if you see them, it's amazing, especially in flag football, and they start tomorrow. It's amazing that how much they compete against each other, and they love it and stuff like that. So it puts a smile on our face just to see that girls are playing against girls in football.
It's putting a smile on my face right now because I'm thinking about young ladies playing quarterback. That's a position they can also own. And as you well know, that position, it's athletic physically, but as Vince Lombardi said, 90% of the game is played from the neck up. The intelligence quotient, I can see them excelling at that position.
Yeah, football is one that they can excel at. They still have to throw the ball.
That's right. That's right.
They still have to probably run the ball and stuff like that. But, you know, in flag football, they're getting it done.
That's
you know, you'll see them throw the ball, but you'll see them run.
Yeah.
And because that's the first instinct that they're going to do.
That's right.
If something comes in front of them, they're going to take off and go and stuff like that. But, you know, it's just exciting to see because it seemed like girls are not playing as much in other sports, basketball, volleyball, and stuff like that, tennis and stuff like that. Now, you know, they have a sport that's on their own, that's new.
Yeah.
They coming out and they playing and stuff like that, and that's
it
what
offers
we
them
need.
something different.
It's something different, yes.
College scholarships.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
Talk to me about name, image, and likeness. We're hearing so much about it. NIL and how it's impacting high schools or in Chicago public schools. And what are some of the challenges that you're facing there?
Well, I don't see it in the Chicago public schools. I see it because I'm looking at college where it's only a very few, 1%, 2% that might grow from that. I wish it was a little bit better. I mean, I wish it was all the student athletes in college for sure, because that's where the money is and stuff like that. But in high school, I think it's not hitting us right now. I think it will, but I think with the prep schools, I think it'll be a little bit different because those are nationally ranked schools and they go everywhere. But in the Chicago public schools, I don't see it because the money growth and stuff is not there like it should be in college.
Chicago's own Mickey Pruitt, homegrown talent.
Thank you.
Nice to be back with you, my friend.
Thank you for coming.
years, can you believe it?
No.
Neither can I. All right, we want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Solomon and Mickey, for sharing your experiences together and for giving us a look into your long-term friendship. And to our viewers, if you liked this episode, please tune in next week when we hear the super success story of Gatorade from Global Marketing Director Jeff Carney. Log on to view that episode on Tuesday, November 1st, and our last episode on November 8th. Both of these will air at 7 p.m. Check out chicagosportssummit.com for more details. And remember, it's not too late to donate to the Chicago Sports Summit Foundation. Have a great week, and thanks for joining us.
I've worked for a lot of really large organizations where values were fancy words on a pretty poster. At SCA Health, that is the striking difference. We live and breathe those every day.
They are always talking about patient care, high quality care. I've never heard of a company talk so much about their patients.
It is a company that consistently looks to improve. All I want to do is more for a company that takes care of me like that.
My voice is getting heard. I make a difference where I work. What input I have, they're looking at and they're listening to.
If you want quality of life, if you want room for growth, and if you want to be in a place where you know that you're safe and you know that you're keeping your patients safe, I would recommend it.
Putting in the work at SCA means being recognized. The promotions are there. The education is there. The next steps are there. I'm proof that the resources, the encouragement, the mentorship is there.
I've been here 11 years. It is the SCA values that have kept me here.
It's one of the first companies I worked for that has invested in me.
I come to work every day, and I know things are going to go well.
I mean, it's the best company I've ever worked for.
They allow me to be who I am. I couldn't ask for anything more.
Over the last several decades, we at Midwest Orthopedics at Rush have depended upon our donors to help fortify our investment in translational research. Translational research is our ability to identify a problem in the clinic, take it to the laboratory, and bring it back to you, the patient, and affect change and improve the quality and outcomes of your care.
A lot of times we don't even see the benefits of our research come to the light of day in the clinical setting. With the use of donor funding, we've been able to accelerate a lot of that. And one example is with personalized medicine, where we're taking patients' blood, spinning it down, and taking different factors out of it to treat different conditions in ways that we really never had available to us in the past. And this is a way to really move things forward and offer different options to patients that didn't exist before.
Through the generosity of our donors over the years, we truly have had one of the greatest impacts of any department in the country and had this effect both nationally and internationally. So thank you.
My favorite part about working in the warehouse is just the opportunity to come down every day and feel the equipment that's getting packed up. Really see the equipment go from something that someone's dreamed about having at a youth program to something that they're actually going to be able to give to their kids. Good Sports works with equipment manufacturers to take in donations of excess equipment that they have. Everything ranging from soccer balls, footballs, basketballs, to workout equipment and training equipment. We then take that equipment and we are able to distribute it to youth programs and schools across the country. Equipment vendors are the lifeblood of what Good Sports does. Without their support every year, we wouldn't be able to do what we do.
They're providing us with the ability to be able to service organizations throughout the country. Through their generosity, a lot of kids benefit in the long run.
Our team has grown exponentially recently. It's because of all our great partnerships with our equipment vendors and with the community organizations.
The growth means that Good Sports is servicing more kids, more organizations. Our inventory continues to grow, and so does Good Sports.
To move forward with conviction, vision matters. We are Forvis, a forward-thinking professional services firm that uses our unmatched vision to prepare for what's ahead. Our commitment to forward vision is delivered on an expanded platform and driven by deep industry expertise, vast resources, and innovative advisory services. Forward vision, it's in our actions and our name.
Every picture that I take is a prayer. It was only 15 months ago that I had a stroke. I was scared for sure, but these were the cards that I was dealt.
When Sal first came to Team Rehab, he was in pretty rough shape, but I knew we could push him.
The big thing that Jake has done for me is give me the confidence that I can do it. It's a partnership.
Sal's still a work in progress, but he's getting better.
A work in progress? I like the sound of that.
Team Rehabilitation. Visit team-rehab.com.